Finishing up the pink bag here today. You saw me working on it last time when I posted a video a few days ago. Well, we're going to finish it up today. It turns out that it went much faster this time than the red bag, and I did things in a slightly different order, which made it go a lot easier. So I feel much better about this process, and I feel like I'm ready to get going on the restoration of the original, which should be pretty exciting. I did need to order one additional tool in order to get started on the original bag. It turns out that the stitching is a little bit more dense on that bag. So I needed to order a slightly different little chisel to make the holes in the leather. That way I can use the same holes that are already in the canvas and not have to make new ones. That'll be safer, more accurate, less destructive, and so on. So that'll make this whole process work a lot better. You can see here I'm attaching the top leather places where the straps attach, and once I get this attached, this turns out to be the most annoying, most irritating part of the process because the leather gets thick, real thick there towards the bottom of that leather piece, and you have to go through lots of layers, and getting the needles to go through and everything turns out to be a big pain. But once that's done, then it's pretty easy from then on out. You can see here I'm just punching the holes in the strap. The strap comes in two pieces, a short piece and a long piece. One piece has the buckle on the end, and the other is the part with the holes, just like a belt. And so here I'm making the holes in the shorter piece, and then I'll go back through and do the same thing for the longer piece. You end up having to stitch up and down all these holes in order to make it look good, and that part takes forever. So I didn't actually record it, but you get the idea. I'm going to skip the edge paint on this bag. I tried it last time and I didn't really like the way it turned out, so instead I'm going to use a technique called burnishing, which is basically just getting the edges of the leather wet and then rubbing them vigorously. And that will that makes them have a nice shine and kind of protects them and makes them look good. So that's what I did to finish the edges of this leather. Now you can see here I'm going through and preparing the places where the strap actually attaches to the bag, and you can see me going through and punching the holes here in these little attachment pieces, and these are going to double over and be little loops where the D-rings actually attach, and you put the pieces through. Rather than punching through both sides all at once, I find that it's easier to just punch through one side and then mark the pieces on the opposing side and then punch them separately. And that way when you fold it over, the holes line up, but you don't end up having to kind of like, twist and pull the leather and so on to get it going. Okay, here I am making the lining of the bag. I decided to make it out of this brown leather. That seems like it's going to go really nicely with the pink, although you won't be able to see it unless the bag itself is actually open. So I'm just trimming it up here and making sure that everything is the right size so that when I actually put it in the bag, everything's going to line up and fit nicely. I've punched holes along both sides here, and now I'm just going to stitch the lining up so that I can put it in the bag. In the last bag, I ended up putting a pocket inside, and it seemed to me that the pocket was a little bit too bulky. Maybe because the lining fabric that I'm using is just kind of heavy. So this time I didn't actually put a pocket inside, and I think that's going to make it much easier to use, much better overall for the person that actually wins this bag. So no pocket, but I did put the leather, the non-suede side on the inside, so it feels nice on the hand, and it doesn't. It's not going to leave a lot of fuzz or anything like that on the stuff that you actually put inside. So I think this is the right way to do it. Now you see here, I'm putting the crimp, kind of the bottom on the bag, and you just open it up and lay it at 90 degrees there. Cut the tip off and then sew it shut. So that's pretty straightforward, and it makes a nice corner, makes it kind of bulge out nicely. You can see it there. And then I just turn it over and do the exact same thing on the flip side, and that works great. And here I am putting the zipper on. It turns out that because the zipper is fabric and it's not so easy to just make the holes in it, that it's much easier to glue it on first using this contact cement as kind of a temporary bond. and then to actually punch the holes after. So that's the approach that I'm taking here. And so I'll just glue it on both sides to hold it securely. And then I'll go back through with my little leather chisel and just punch the holes. And that'll make it ready to receive the stitching when I attach it to the exterior of the bag. And so there it is attached. Now I'm going to stick it in the bag, and the holes are punched on the outside. And now I'm just going to make sure it fits. And then I'm going to go through and punch holes. Now the spacing is the same, so I'm certain that these will correspond with the holes on the exterior of the bag. And now it's just a matter of finishing those holes and then going through and actually doing the stitching to attach the lining to the inside of the bag. I'm going to start at the middle on either side here. That way, in case there's any slack or any issues as I go through, that I can just, kind of fix it on the edges where it's not really going to matter nearly as much. And so I'm just going to stitch this guy in, and that will be the last step in this process. Another thing that I found in this process, now that I've done it twice, is that the size of the lining needs to be bigger than I'm making it. Both times when I did this, the sort of the circumference of the lining at the very top of the bag was a little bit too narrow, too small. And so I ended up having to stretch things in a really kind of unpleasant way in order to get everything to fit. But I eventually made it, and it ended up looking great. It just was a bit hard to put together. Here you can see me putting some snowproofing stuff on here that I like. It just protects the leather in case it gets wet. Water's just going to kind of bead off of it so that you don't have any issues if it happens to be raining when you go out or anything like that. It does darken the leather just a hair, but when it dries, then you'll see that it's pretty much indistinguishable from what it looks like now. You will notice it's a little blotchy on the strap when I put on the snowproofing stuff. I don't know why that is. I think it may be just a defect in the actual leather that's not visible until you start to do that. But it looks fine now. Once it's dried off, then it's much better. Last step is to attach the belt loops that are going to hold the strap in place once the buckle is kind of used, once the strap is fastened. I'm going to put two on there, one right behind the buckle and the other kind of floating so that you can just put it wherever you need it in order to make it work. And then once that's done, then the bag will be completely finished and ready to ship off to a lucky winner. So last time, Mary XOXO won the red bag, and I'm going to look at the same pool of commenters, plus anybody that comments between now and Friday, April 6th. So if you want to have a shot at winning the pink bag, then leave me a comment on any of these videos between now and April 6th, and I will put you in the drawing. And then whoever is the lucky winner, I'll ship that bag out to you right after I draw your name. Okay, if you like the video, leave me a comment, like it, share it with your friends. And next week, we will start on the original, putting it back together. So that should be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. Bye now.